All right, let's jump right in. Today, we're taking a whirlwind tour through the key moments that really shaped the continent of Australia.
So when you think of Australia, what's the first thing that pops into your head? Is it these ancient, sweeping landscapes home to the world's oldest continuous civilization? Or maybe it's that rugged colonial past? Or, the modern, vibrant, multicultural nation it is today? Well, the story of modern Australia, it actually began with a whole lot of hardship and just a little bit of hope. It was set up as a penal colony, basically a dumping ground on the other side of the planet for Britain's overcrowded jails.
But it's also a story of incredible courage and sacrifice. A national spirit, really, that was forged in the fires of global conflict. A legend born on the shores of a place called Gallipoli.
So you have to ask, right? How did one single continent come to hold all of these incredible and sometimes contradictory stories? Well, that's what we're going to dive into. Let's explore the defining moments that turned this land into the nation we know today.
Okay, so to really get a handle on Australia, we have to rewind. I'm talking way, way back, long before any European ships were even a speck on the horizon. Our story has to start with the continent's first peoples and their ancient, profound connection to this land. Think about this for a second. For at least 65,000 years, Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples have lived here. That makes theirs the oldest continuous civilization on the entire planet. That incredible depth of time has created these deep spiritual connections to the land and super intricate systems of knowledge. It's absolutely a cornerstone of Australia's story.
And then 1788, a moment that would change the continent forever. A fleet of British ships arrives, and a totally new and really disruptive chapter begins.
The man in charge, Captain Arthur Phillip, he was given this huge task. Establish a settlement using a workforce of convicts in a land that was, for them, completely unknown. And let me tell you, those early years were just a desperate, brutal struggle for survival.
You can really feel the desperation of the time when you read their personal diaries. Captain Watkin Tench, he wrote about famine approaching with gigantic strides. Just this feeling of gloom and dejection on every face as these settlers came up against a totally unfamiliar and frankly unforgiving environment. So right from the get-go, you had these two completely competing views of the new colony. On one side, you've got Governor Phillip with this grand vision of boundless potential. And then on the other, you have the stark reality of just despair felt by so many of his officers.
But then, something happened in the 1850s that would change everything. It would accelerate the colony's transformation at an absolutely dizzying speed.
Gold. It was all about gold. The promise of getting rich quick drew hundreds of thousands of immigrants from all over the world. They came in droves, and this just rapidly expanded the population, built up cities, and seriously fueled the economy.
All this rapid growth, it sparked this powerful new ambition. People started thinking, hey, why don't we unite these 6 separate British colonies into a single nation? And it made sense. A united defense force, free trade between colonies, having national control over immigration, and of course this growing sense of a unique Australian identity. These were all really powerful drivers for what they called federation.
So they become a nation, but barely a decade later, that new identity would be forged and really hardened on the battlefields of World War I.
This is where the legend of the Anzacs, that's the Australian and New Zealand Army Corps, was born. Their incredible courage, especially at Gallipoli and later on the Western Front, earned this young nation a whole lot of respect on the global stage, and it really solidified this sense of a shared, resilient national character.
Now, after the wars, another huge defining moment arrived. But this time, it didn't come with the bang of a gunshot. It came as a wave of new faces from all around the world.
This massive influx of people, it literally helped build modern Australia. They contributed to its world-class cities, its new industries, and that rich, diverse culture that really defines the nation today. But to truly build its future, Australia had to do something really difficult. It had to confront a fundamental lie from its past.
See, the entire colonial project, the whole legal justification for taking the land, was built on this one Latin concept, Terra Nullius. It's a legal fiction, an idea that declared the continent belonged to no one before the British showed up.
But then, a landmark court case, led by a Mare Island man from the Torres Strait named Eddie Koiki Mabo, he challenged the very foundation of Australian law. And the High Court's decision was absolutely monumental.
It completely overturned Terra Nullius. For the first time, it recognized that Indigenous Australians had rights to the land that existed long before the British arrived. This reshaped Australian law and began a new and, often very difficult chapter in the nation's story, a real reckoning with its own history.
So you see, from an ancient civilization to a penal colony, from a wild gold rush to a modern multicultural nation, Australia's story is one of constant, dramatic change. But here's the thing, that story is never really finished. Which leaves us with the big question, what defining moment comes next?